And we are back. Here I am, Fly Navarro, and today I am being joined by none other than what I've been calling, and a couple of us on the dock, the new shark czar, John Carlson. John, how are you today, sir?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
No, we were just discussing tuna fishing in the Mediterranean, and we're like, oh, let's start recording, man. Fishing is fishing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's.
definitely. I don't know if it's the same way with you. I went fishing this weekend, and it's been so hot. We got on the water at sunrise, and then the fishing shuts down by 2 hours after. So
You're located in Florida, right?
yeah, I'm in the Panhandle. I'm in Panama City.
Oh, okay. I was just watching a video. They're doing a documentary on spring break back in the 90s of Panama
Oh my
City.
gosh, yeah, yeah.
I remember back in the day.
It is tempered quite a bit since those days. There was a few incidents 3 or 4 years ago where there was some shootings, and it got pretty bad. The violence got pretty bad. So the county kind of cracked down on the spring break. So,
Yeah.
but
And th-
it's still a great place to come if you want to enjoy the beach, want to enjoy the ocean. So
well, actually, you guys were the epicenter of what may or may not have caused the new formation of this shark depredation committee that you've been appointed to. That is where the beginning of the Lulu Law started, was in Panama City.
oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, there was three shark attacks within like 45 minutes.
In Panama
And
City?
I believe it was somewhere around that whole panhandle
So
area.
back in, I believe it was 2006, it was in Destin because that was one of we called it the summer of the shark. Well, that's what Time Magazine called it.
Well,
And
no,
yeah,
no,
it was
this was way more recent. This was like
okay. Then we had it
19,
was
18 or 19.
maybe okay. There was several other attacks, but the one that always sticks in my head was the one. It was a poor young girl who was attacked by a bull shark out on off of Destin, and then a few days later we had another attack. So yeah, it was a very um, difficult time in terms of we're trying to promote the fact that the shark attacks are extremely rare, but still it was a lot of people were nervous so about that. So
Yeah, no, no, no. This was definitely, it was like within a 45-minute period. Uh, and that's where this law came from, where it was Tuberville and Britt, the senators from Alabama, that proposed
oh
this
yeah.
bill. And it was to put out a quote unquote, like a amber
Oh
lot,
yeah, like an
amber
Amber
alert,
Alert. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah. So
where if something happens, everybody along the beach within like
right.
100 miles will know about it. And then Uh, my biggest argument with that is, man, that becomes a huge tourism problem, and
It does.
it's no longer a fisheries problem.
Yeah, and yeah, and you might have people that potentially um over it may not have been a shark attack, but somebody may have reacted that they thought it was a shark attack, and then it causes mass panic.
Yeah, and that's been my biggest fight about this whole shark thing in the last 10 years. Is right now it's a fisheries problem. And we just need to manage the resource the way it's supposed to be managed. But if it spills over into tourism, suddenly you got a bunch of people that know nothing about fisheries,
Yeah,
and they just want to concern themselves with saving the dollar. Which, listen, I get it.
right.
When you're in business, that's what you're trying to do. But I think we need to. And again, this is just my opinion. This is
No,
not.
no,
It's just my opinion. That's why I've been so proactive about this. Is guys, this is a fisheries problem.
yeah,
And again, it's not. I don't even know if it's a problem. It's just now that the fact that we are more connected to one another, we hear more and more of it than we were 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
of course. There's definitely the social media impact. It's the same thing as we talk about the depredation issue. Someone catches a red snapper and a shark comes up and bites it off, and he has a trophy red snapper that holds up for a camera. It's just a head, posts it on Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media platform, and then it just goes viral. And some people are like, yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me. So one
Yeah.
of the things that we've been working on is trying to better quantify the rates of depredation over time to see actually if the rates are increasing, what type of factors are potentially affecting the increase in depredation rate. Is it a change in the populations of sharks? Is it a change in their behavior? Is it a change in something else that's impacting where sharks go, that they encounter recreational anglers much more? So that's one of my jobs on detail for the Deputy Undersecretary for Oceans and Atmospheres at NOAA, is trying to come up with answers potentially of why are we seeing an increase in depredation.
Well, being that you brought it up that way, let's use that to segue into exactly what have you guys been tasked to do, and what have you put together?
Yeah,
Which I just found out about it this past spring, and I believe that's when you guys were put together. So if we can start from the very beginning, and then we can
sure.
mosey on down the road with it.
Yeah, it's part of my detail. Again, for NOAA leadership, we're trying to come up with a strategic plan for addressing the issue of shark depredation, because, as you said, it's impacting tourism, because a lot of people that come to Panama City or wherever, they charter a fishing boat, or they go out on a for hire. Their experience is degraded because they are catching fish, and half the fish are ending up being depredated on by sharks. So there's aspect of it. There's the aspect economically also for our guide fishermen. They don't want to be out all the time and having their clients, be disappointed over this, trophy tarpon that they're fighting, and all of a sudden, a hammerhead shark comes over and snatches their tarpon. And then also from just a general economic perspective, from our commercial fishermen are also having depredation issues, and just the general recreational angler, everybody that goes out. I mean, I've had depredation. I was so frustrated. I caught a beautiful king mackerel, and sure enough, I got up to the side of the boat, and a sandbar came up and bit it in half.
All too common nowadays.
Yeah. So the way we're focusing on the question of depredation is there's many different theories on why potentially it is increasing. One, are there more sharks out there than there were 20 years ago? For the benefit of your audience, NOAA implemented the first shark fishery management plan in 1993. Since that time, we've had quota regulations. We've had both on recreational and commercial side. We've had closed areas. We've done very amendments to that initial fishery management plan to rebuild our shark population. So some people are arguing that management has worked, and we have too many sharks. So the first question we want to ask, or what we're doing right now, as a matter of fact, we've started it earlier this year. We had our first workshop in May, and then, earlier this year, we started this process much earlier than that. Sandbar sharks are one of the culprits, I guess would be a word to say, that most people are saying there's too many sandbar sharks out there. They are the ones primarily causing depredation. So we have shifted from a stock assessment from other species to reassessing the population status of sandbar sharks through what we call the CDAR process, the Southeast Data and Assessment, which you participated in. And the first time I met you, if you remember, we were at the Hammerhead assessment, and then we had to evacuate
in Panama City, and exactly.
Yeah.
We had to leave because of a storm.
Yeah. It's a process that involves all the stakeholders, recreational, commercial. We're in that process now of re-examining the status of sandbar sharks. The last stock assessment was done back in 2018, which suggested that the population was still overfished. It hasn't fully recovered yet, but maybe that has changed over the last 8-9 years, and the population has recovered faster than we had initially anticipated. So we're in the process of doing that now. We hope to have the final assessment in the beginning of 2027 out for peer review, and that way we'll have a better idea of, are sandbar sharks more abundant than they were in 2018, and has recovery happened a lot faster. We're also looking at different ways, because the assessment process takes a while. It's a very complex procedure where we look at all the different data sources, and the public is all willing to participate in that process. We had commercial fishermen and recreational fishermen participated in our data workshop that took place in Charleston. They provided input, which was great, because some of the stuff we don't know. I mean, you guys are on the water all the time, and there's some stuff, I get on the water as much as I can, but I'm not on the water, unfortunately, every day. So they are allowed to provide input on some of our data sources, which is great, which really helps us fine tune our assessment to make sure we use the best data that we have available. So once we finish the sandbar shark, we're hoping to try a new type of modeling technique, which will provide a much more faster way of analyzing the status. So once we finish sandbar shark, our next step is we're going to move into the other culprit. Bull shark are also one of the species, and we've never had an assessment done on bull shark before. So We're hoping, never done a stock assessment, not a full stock assessment before. I've actually analyzed some trends in abundance. Looks like the population is increasing, but again, it hasn't been subjected to, there's other surveys out there that we potentially want to look at. And we're hoping that we're going to move into what's called a management strategy evaluation. We're currently using that type of an assessment for mahi-mahi through the South Atlantic Council. So we're hoping to apply that to sandbar shark. And if it works very well for sandbar shark, we're going to move it to bull shark so that we can provide the public more information and faster information on what the status of these species are. So that's the first question we want to get at is, are there more sharks out there? Because everyone says there are more sharks out there. And if there are more sharks out there, then our management division, our highly migratory species management division, will obviously modify the quotas. I mean, right now, sandbar sharks are a prohibited species. There are a small group of commercial fishermen that are still allowed to harvest them. But if the status is better, perhaps it's warranted that they're no longer prohibited. And so all the recreational and commercial fishermen can now harvest sandbar sharks. So that's one of our first goals is get a better handle or not a better handle, but come up with a better estimate of what the current status of sandbar sharks is, and then move that over to bull shark. So the other question that we have and that we're working on right now, and this is one of the things that I was hoping because this is going to involve a citizen science type of program involving recreational fishermen that are probably listening in on your podcast right now. There's that question of, we're calling it the bad bear hypothesis or the bad bear theory.
I remember when I first talked to you.
Are the sharks that are causing depredation the bad bears, like the same guys that always get in your garbage cans, right? Yeah. So in the Gulf, a graduate student at the University of Miami has identified what we call depredation hotspots, or depredation risk areas. So what we plan to do is in two of those areas, one south of the Pensacola, Mobile area, and another one northwest of the Florida Keys, we are going to put an acoustic listening station in that area. Then what we'll do is, with the cooperation of the commercial longline fleet, we're going to capture sandbar sharks, and we're going to surgically implant acoustic pingers. So we will know firsthand whether these sharks are resident to these depredation risk areas all the time, or if they're transient. And if they are transient, what is the cue that they're moving into this area? Is it the sound of the engines on the fishing site? Is it the first wriggling red snapper or grouper that comes to the surface? Is it the discarding of undersized fish? What's the cue, if they're not there all the time, that's bringing those sharks into that area? And if they are moving into that area, is it the same bad bears that are always there over and over again? So this is what I want to try to get a plug for you, for your listeners, is we are hoping to have cooperative recreational anglers, for hire anglers, charter fishermen that'll work with us when they fish in these particular sites. We're going to ask them to fill out a data form, or potentially we're going to have an app for their phone where they record when they get on site, when they start fishing, when they have their first catch, if they have a depredation, when they have that depredation event, information like that we can correlate with the movement of sandbar sharks in and out of these depredation risk areas, these depredation hotspots. So I can email you if any of your listeners want to participate in this program. I have an email address that they can send us an email and say, yes, John, we would love to participate in this project. Let us know what we want to do. This is a citizen science project as well, because we're going to involve the recreational anglers as well as the commercial fishermen to try to get at this answer.
One of my first questions I have, because we've talked about this bad bear
Yeah.
theory, and when I first heard of that you got appointed to this job, the first thing I did was I reached out. Actually, I reached out to your boss, who in turn put me in touch with you, and we had
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah. John Walter.
conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't even wait for him to finish his presentation at the HMS meeting. I sent it. I was typing away an email right away. Uh,
Because I think John had texted me and he said, Robert Navarro is going to get in contact with you. And I think when I set my phone down, I looked at my inbox and there was already an email in there.
yeah, no, no, no. Listen. I'm a firm believer. There's no sense in waiting till tomorrow what I can get done today.
Yeah, great.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm very big on that, and then you and I connected shortly thereafter, and I was very happy to hear about this. And you're like, wow, most people are upset about this bad bear theory, and mainly, and I get it, most people feel that it's not a bad bear, it's a bad stock,
It
and
could be it very well could be a bad stock. That's the question we want to get at.
and that's the point I want to get at, or I want to ask is, what is it going to take to say no, it's not a bad bear, it's there's just so many of them. How do you guys figure that out?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it goes back to the stock assessment that we're doing for sandbar sharks.
Yeah.
If it does look like that they've recovered much faster than we had originally anticipated, then again, we go to our management division and we say, well, maybe sandbar sharks should no longer be prohibited anymore. We can now have an allowable quota for these animals, and that would allow for the potential of removals.
Okay. And we're gonna go down that road here in a little bit. I got a lot of other questions.
Yeah, sure.
So because everybody, um, I remember when I first started banging this drum, it was approximately 10 years ago. Hey, I think we're having a problem with sharks, and nobody wanted to listen. Nobody want, and the same conversation I had with you is, I think we're having a problem with sharks. The canary in the coal mine is the fishermen are saying all this stuff, and it took us, and the crazy part here in the last couple of days, I've had like 5 people reach out to me. I'm thinking of doing a shark tournament. And my purpose behind it was I was tired of saying I think we're having a problem and nobody would listen. So
Mhm.
I wanted to do a little bit of citizen science and say, okay, let's get an effort times number of sharks and show how many sharks we can get in an 8-hour day. And then next thing you know, the greenies got a hold of us, and 300,000 signatures later, they tried to shut us down, but we were doing nothing wrong. I mean, it's perfectly legal.
Yeah, and then that's the thing is everything that we're doing as part of all these exercises, for these studies, everything is done under the Magnuson-Stevenson Act. We're not doing anything outside of what the current regulations allow us to do. We're not catching any more sharks than the quota allows. For any recreational anglers, as I said, sandbars are prohibited. They would be required to be released. So, but for other species like bull sharks, you can still harvest those types of species.
And another thing that I personally have an issue with, and again, just so anybody who's listening, there's certain opinions that I have, and they're not your opinions, they're mine, and I'm just sharing you with
Yeah,
you
of
my
course.
opinions, because I know you're here in an official capacity, and I don't want anybody to construe something different. So I just want to preface with a lot of this stuff. I get put into a lot of conversations online when stuff gets said, and I see how they change some of the words
Yeah.
where there's a global dip, and I'm just using that term very lightly. There's a lot of sharks that are overfished globally. But here in the United States, we have, and NOAA has put it out several times,
Yeah.
that we have a very healthy shark population. Either A, they've recovered, B, they're on the road to recovery, maybe not at that position yet, but they've done a very, very good job. And when I say they, meaning NOAA, National Marine Fisheries, on protecting these sharks for what was happening in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we appreciate it, but it's also, we have to send a shout out to all the all the constituents and all the stakeholders that help work with us, to implement the regulations. And I would argue, and I've argued this before, that the U.S. has one of the few sustainable shark fisheries in the world. I mean, Australia has sustainable shark fisheries. There's some other areas that are bright spots. In fact, colleagues of mine published a paper a few years ago on bright spots for sustainable shark fisheries, and the U.S. was one of them. And that's what gets into a little bit of the misunderstanding that we have in terms of the public perception and, as you indicated, the status of sharks in U.S. waters. The IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, which I'm a member of. And I've worked on, many of these red list assessments, which determine the status, whether it's, critically endangered, vulnerable, least concerned, near threatened. But these assessments that are done are the global assessments for the species. It's not, and there's no IUCN assessment done strictly for U.S. waters. These are global assessments. So when you see something like great hammerheads are critically endangered, that's because the proportion of great hammerhead population throughout the world in those areas outweighs the status in the U.S. So that's generally why, their status in, say, the Indian Ocean, in many of the developing countries is not good at all because they don't have management per se, or they don't have the resources to devote towards enforcement. So when someone says that, I'll just use great hammerhead shark as an example, is critically endangered. Yes, globally they are, but in the U.S. the status may be quite different.
Yeah, and that's where I get thrown into a lot of conversations because they start saying globally, or they use some words, and somebody, Fly, this is not what you said on your
Yeah, of course.
podcast, or
Yeah, things get misinterpreted. Yeah, I understand that.
here's the thing, and I'm going to give you a little pushback on that. Is I don't think they get misinterpreted. I think they're purposely reworded
Okay.
because, and again, that's my opinion and my
All right.
opinion only. Um,
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt.
yeah, no, I get you, but here's the thing, and this is where I have the pushback, is that the money is to be made on saying that sharks are endangered or they're critically around the world, and that's when people start donating to a lot of these NGOs. Uh, I've seen it. I've been accosted by these people. I even had a young girl, and I can't remember if her name was Melissa or Michelle. It was an M, and she was from Minnesota, and sweet girl.
Mhm.
Of all the death threats I got, she sent me a letter saying she did not threaten my life, but she said, I live in Minnesota, and my goal one day is to see a shark, and you're going to take that away from me. And I'm trying to say, listen, you don't understand. I'll take you out right now and you can see 100 sharks.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to see sharks, but the selling point, the pulling on of the heartstrings is they're going to be wiped away. And what people in the US may or may not be aware of, because I've followed this along, when this new recreational limit was looking to get increased, they were looking for signatures to stop it.
Yeah.
And I got tagged in a article that was written on the Independent, which is a UK newspaper, and it was printed in the UK asking for signatures. And
Yeah.
my argument is, why are you reaching out to people in the UK for signatures for a US fishery? That has nothing to do. What does anybody in the UK have that they have to write into our government? And just here recently with, I believe it's HB 3831, where they were stop feeding the sharks
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I think it was House Bill
Yeah,
3831. I can't remember.
I don't keep. I know what you bill you. I don't. I wouldn't know the number if
Yeah,
someone.
yeah, yeah. The only reason I know the number was, again, I got thrown into a conversation
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
online,
Yeah.
and uh, I saw one of these divers he's asking for his friends from Europe, specifically the ones from Italy, to sign this document. And again, I'm saying, what does fishermen or divers in Italy have anything to do with our fishery?
Hmm.
And that's my argument. Come out, see the problem. And the pushback I got from these divers is they're like, well, there's no proof that the feeding of the shark is changing the migratory pattern, because I'm saying, listen, these are highly migratory species. You're feeding them, you're going to prevent them from moving on. And they're like, well, there's no data that says we're stopping the migration. But at the same time, I'm saying there's no data that says it's not happening.
Yeah. I mean,
We
that would
can't
be.
we can't prove it either way.
Yeah. No, that would be an interesting study to see. It's kind of like it's very similar to the depredation experiments that we're doing to see if sharks are altering their behavior in terms of their migratory patterns relative to where the feeding areas are from these groups. That would be an interesting study to look at.
Oh,
I have to get a graduate student on
sign
it.
me up, man. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Listen, me personally, and contrary to popular belief online, I am completely fascinated with sharks. Sharks is what got me started in the sport fishing industry. If
Yeah.
anything, the movie Jaws that came out in 76, I was 3 years old, and I was completely enthralled by that movie. And
It's
I
the
thought
same.
yeah.
It's well, the same sort of thing with me. Is people always ask me. I've done interviews before. People ask me when I was a kid growing up, did you want to be Jacques Cousteau or I said no, I wanted to be Matt Hooper, the,
Ah,
the ichthyologist from the Richard Dreyfuss character. That was what I wanted to be when I grew up. I want to be Matt Hooper because I grew up in
Hoopa.
Connecticut. I grew up in New England, and I was in the areas around Martha's Vineyard. As a kid growing up on summer vacations. My dad was a, a striped bass fisherman big time, and so we were all over Cape Cod, from Cape Cod to New York, fishing for chasing striped bass.
I'm actually going to Nantucket next week.
Are you? Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, we're doing a satellite tagging program for white marlin next week.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
in
Yeah, I have the distinction of when I was in undergrad, I had the distinction of holding the state record for the largest white marlin landed in Connecticut. Yeah, yeah.
really?
One of my claims to fame. Yeah.
Wow. Listen, hold on. Can I have your autograph?
Yeah. No, the irony, because I was working for the state of Connecticut at the time. One of my first jobs in fisheries was doing the intercept, the recreational intercepts. And so, I went out. My friend and at the time this is when I went out. And we caught it in the Butterfish Hole off of Montauk, and I remember I had the state record for a while, and then then the following summer, when there was any other potential state record, we would have to go and identify it to confirm that it actually was a white, not a blue. So I was the one that identified it as the record breaker for my white marlin. So yeah, yeah, it's a white marlin. You just broke my record.
Crusher.
Yeah.
Crusher. I actually, you talk about all those spots. The largest striped bass I ever caught was off of Shagwan.
Really?
Yeah, we were
Wow.
chunking for striped bass. And I was a young deckhand. I was like 21, 22
Hmm.
years old. And being from South Florida, that's all new. That was all new stuff for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. I mean, this is the first time I've been back to Nantucket since like 92 or 93. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually going to visit my mom. My dad passed away a couple of years ago, but I'm going to go visit my mom the end of August, and oh no, first week in September. And I already texted my brother, and I said we're going straight bass fishing. Get the boat ready.
Come on. Give me your preferred method, because everybody has their own preferred method for striped bass fishing.
Well, I got into fly fishing for them a few years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah, I really like fly fishing for them.
Do you chum them up, or how do you?
No, we'll just work the edge of a rip. Look
Okay.
along where the edge of the rocks are, and just look at the edge of the rip, and I'll just throw, cast the fly out onto the rip and work it through the rip.
Blind
So
casting to them.
yeah, a lot of blind casting, unless we see them on the surface, which we don't. But
Your arms got to be way
oh
leg
yeah,
at the
yeah.
end
By
of the
the end
day.
of the day, it's Jello.
I just got back 2 weeks ago. I got back from Alaska.
Yeah,
We
but
were,
if it wasn't for fly fishing, I'd like catching them on topwater plugs.
listen, I bet you it's a ferocious bite.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's come charging up. But even if we don't get striped bass, the bluefish will just tear the plugs up. They're a lot of fun to catch too.
You said you grew up in Rhode Island,
No, Connecticut.
Connecticut. Okay.
Yeah, but I fished Rhode Island. I fished Cape Cod. And one of the things when I was an undergrad, one of my good friends, he was a big beach fisherman off of Cape Cod. So we would load up his big beach truck and head up to the Cape. We'd sleep on the beach at night fishing for striped bass, and then we go surfing during the day.
My man,
Yeah, it
that's
was
the way
fun.
to
It was
do
fun
it.
times. It was fun
Wow.
times.
Listen, it goes to show you where this love and passion for the water and the outdoors, where it leads all of us
Oh
on a
yeah,
different path somewhere.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you find a little niche and then you just kind of, it's like following a little creek up a river.
I know. I mean, a lot of where I always tell a lot of my students, I said, some of the reasons I'm still working on sharks is serendipity. I happen to be at the right place at the right time. I got hired for NOAA when I was finishing up my dissertation. At the same time, they were starting to ramp up the stock assessments for sharks. So they were trying to build a small team. And, a couple of the scientists that were said, well, we need a team. We need more than one or two people. So they offered me a position. So I was like, yes, I'd love it. So it was just, I happened to be finishing up my PhD at the same time that NOAA was ramping up their shark stock assessment work.
How long ago was that?
I got hired in 98.
That's wow.
Yeah.
To me, 98 seems like it was only 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know. It's been a blur.
Listen, I've said this 100 times on this podcast, so I'm going to say it again. Life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes, man.
That's true. It's so true. It feels like, where do these years go?
We're almost the end of August already.
I know. I know. I'm already starting thinking about duck hunting too.
Oh, now that I know that, we're gonna touch on that because
Okay.
I had a duck hunter on here. I don't know if you know Pit Boss Waterfowl.
I don't.
Uh, Listen, I'm gonna recommend you to follow him on social media. This
Okay,
guy,
I'll check them out. Yeah.
I had him on a few weeks ago, and very similar, just like waterfowling, and he
Yeah.
wanted to become a guide. I can't remember what he started off as. And he just used these message boards online before social media. And he's based out of Ocean City, Maryland, and he goes out
Okay.
yeah, he goes out 100 days a year or 103, whatever the allotted
Yeah. No.
number of
Every
days.
year, one of my colleagues, he's actually a professor. We all went to graduate school together. One of my good friends, he's a professor at NC State in Moorhead. His
Yeah,
brother is in North Carolina. His brother is a professional guide on the Maryland Eastern Shore. So every January we go up and spend 3 days snow goose hunting on Maryland Eastern Shore with my good friend's brother. So
there you
I've been
go.
doing that we've been doing that since graduate school since 20 for 20 years. We've been going up there. It's fun.
Wow.
We have friends that come down from Woods Hole. We have friends that come up. So yeah, it's a kind of it's a little bit of a reunion among all of us, but still we have a lot of fun snow goose hunting.
That's
And in the summer, he guides for striped bass in Chesapeake Bay.
oh, so he's scouting.
Yeah, yeah,
He's scouting during the
yeah,
summer.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
I like
exactly.
that, man. Listen, if you're gonna do it, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's good
That's the
fun.
way to do it. So let's go back to the citizen science that you guys are
Mhm.
planning on doing, because I think there's so much potential. There's so many people that are, for lack of a better term, I'm going to use the word upset.
Sure, of course.
I'm going to use that word. And for me, there's a very fine line. And at the last HMS meeting, uh, one of the things that I was very uh, vocal about, and if anybody knows me, they know I like to get vocal. There's a fine line between being upset and then crossing the line and becoming a vigilante. And that's what I'm starting to see. And I'm very, very specific when I tell these people saying, hey, when you become a vigilante, you are now breaking the law. You are breaking the law. So with the fact that you're offering up the possibility of citizen science, these people that want to do something, I want to know some more. And if you have, you mentioned about having an email address and where people can start uh,
Yeah.
reporting back. What are some of the steps? If that's your step one, do you have a step two and three behind that where you can involve some citizen science?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the information we want to collect, and I agree with you. We're going to ask that people you may be very you may have a very strong opinion about the depredation. We are asking you to approach this as we're trying to collect good science that's going to advise us. If you're very upset about this, I understand that, but if you want to participate in this program, please try to put any passion you have on the back burner and approach this as I'm collecting data that potentially is going to provide an answer for what's going on with depredation.
No, no, listen, that's important. What people don't understand, and listen, I'm learning this vigilantism.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not just prevalent in sharks. It's prevalent in a lot of things. And listen, even in our media, the movie of Batman was based on vigilantism.
Yeah. Yeah. Batman was a vigilante.
Yeah, exactly. And vigilantism is whenever you feel that your government or the people in charge are not doing their job. And that's one of the things that I'm being a very big proponent on because this is where the pushback that I get from the environmentalists. Oh, well, you guys just want to cull them. And
No, no, I have to emphasize again, any research that we're doing is not culling. We are any research that we've done is under the management regulations that are currently in place. We're not doing anything outside those bounds any whatsoever. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that it's not like, because I know in Australia, they had issues with white sharks and they were doing white shark culling. We are not going down that road at all. Everything is within the purview of our management regulations.
no, and that's something that uh I've been a big proponent on. I don't want culling, and this is where where I gave you guys props earlier. This is where I'm gonna flip it a little bit. Uh, One thing that I think the agency has been, uh, and maybe it's just timing or political push or whatever, and it's been in a lot of things. Anytime something gets placed on a protective status, the agency they don't have a plan on how to get it off that status. It's something that they're very, very slow about. And listen, no comment out of you is okay if because I know you're an official on here, and I don't want you to ever say something. It's just one of the things that even our conversation when we had a few months back was once we find that there is a problem, what is the agency's plan to take them off?
Yeah,
And
and that's part of the plan right now is we're reassessing the status because, as I said, sandbars are prohibited. So that's why we're doing this assessment again after 8 years. We want to go back and look and see population potentially has recovered faster than we gave it credit for. And again, I work on smalltooth sawfish, which is listed on the Endangered Species Act, which is different than a prohibited species listed under our management plan. And a lot of people don't understand the goal of the endangered species, when listing a species, is to get it off. And that's why when we list a species on the ESA, part of the requirement is to develop a recovery plan. What research, what things do we need to do to recover these animals to get them off? I don't want to see a species listed in perpetuity. I want to shoot off fireworks and say, yes, it's recovered.
yeah, no, it's very
It worked. It worked. What we did worked. It's like, bald eagles. I mean, they were, when I was a kid, if we saw a bald eagle or even ospreys, when I was a kid, if I saw a bald eagle or an osprey, I was like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing. I can walk down the beach now and see bald eagles all over,
everywhere.
or ospreys everywhere. So
everywhere.
it worked. It
Yeah,
worked.
like here in Florida, alligators.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, you can walk from here. Listen, honestly, I could probably walk from here all the way up to Maine with the amount of alligators we got in the state of Florida.
Yeah,
But
I got promised to go on an alligator hunt, but unfortunately I couldn't go. But I've eaten alligator before. That's good.
I'm sure you can see some of these
I
here.
see behind you. I see the skull behind
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
these were when it, I haven't gone, wow, 17 years, but when the first few years when they opened up the season, huh, let me tell you, you couldn't keep me off the water.
Yeah.
It was because it was so intriguing.
Yeah, I even think I could be totally wrong. I think even Florida, you still need to get a permit, but I think Florida has even increased the number of permits, if I'm not mistaken now.
I don't know what the permits are now. All
Yeah.
I remember, I think year two or three, because it used to be you were limited to two
Was it? Okay.
and two per person. You know, you get one license and you get two
Yeah.
permits. I think my third year, I was able to get 10.
Okay.
You know, once they all went out to all the different lottery system, anything that was left. And I remember me and my friend, we went out there and we're like, we're going to stack them up like cordwood. And I was that year, let me tell you, have you ever had alligator sausage?
I have.
It is unbelievable.
It's very good. There's a duck camp, hunting camp that I go to in Mississippi. I've been in a
Okay.
few years, but one year we had sausage and gravy for breakfast, and the sausage was alligator sausage. It was
Oh
really,
my God, it was so.
really
I
good.
made jalapeno and onion. Was it jalapeno and onion? Yeah, jalapeno and onion, and then spinach and sun-dried tomato.
You need to send me the recipe.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'll send you the.
Email me the recipe
I
because I
gotta
like to
look.
cook.
I
I do because I make a goose sausage because a lot of times when we hunt snow geese, especially when I do the spring season in Arkansas where there's no limit on this because it's a spring migration. So last year we harvested 150 snow geese. So a lot of the
wow.
geese I made sausage out of. So I'm always looking for new recipes to
Oh,
make.
you know what else I made that was really good out of the alligator was jambalaya.
That's another. I've not had.
Oh,
Yeah,
so good. Instead of putting chicken in there, I put alligator.
yeah, and actually, kind of changing the subject a little bit. There's a commercial shark fisherman on in Alabama who's working on developing a shark sausage to make to add to like gumbo or to sausage and gravy, things like that. Yeah, so he's working on trying to develop a market for shark sausage.
Could you introduce me to him?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll email the connection. Yeah,
Yeah, I would love it. Okay, so we're gonna jump a little bit, but just because
yeah.
you brought this up, and I'm sure we're gonna come back to this, but if and when
Hmm.
it comes out to you guys it's saying, okay, there is an overabundance of sharks. One of and this again, we had this conversation before, and this is my next thing that I'm fighting. When we decide we're gonna, and I say we, when National Marine Fisheries decides, okay, now these sharks have recovered,
Yeah,
and
we can
we can
increase the
increase the
harvest.
quota, we can
Yeah.
increase the harvest. This is the second problem we're having, and again, this is very touchy, so no answer
Hmm.
by you is perfectly okay because I know you're in an official position. But my argument at the last meeting, we were having a discussion on Amendment 16, the proposed Amendment 16,
Hmm.
which the first question they were asking is why is only 20% of the shark quota being caught? And again, being very vocal on this, I asked Guy, who did the presentation. I'm assuming you know Guy. I
Guy and
don't.
I are working together on
Okay,
kind of exactly what you're talking about because Guy and I part of
okay.
this detail is looking at the markets that are currently available for shark products and how we can potentially change that if we can have a sustainable harvest that harvest is increased. So I'm working with Guy on that. So
Okay, so I feel very comfortable in this conversation because I
oh
didn't want
yeah,
to I didn't want to
I mean,
just
we want to
assume.
optimize. We want to optimize the sustainable harvest of our shark products because, as I argued before, the U.S. has one of the few sustainable shark fisheries in the world. Unfortunately, now the market is not very good.
The market is not very good, and it's for us. It's a double-edged. Excuse me. It's a double-edged sword. It's very sustainable. We can
Mm-hmm.
go out and harvest these sharks, but there's no market for them.
Yeah,
And there's two ways we can go about creating a market. One of them is very controversial. I don't know why it's very controversial, just because of the stigma on it, which is repealing of the Shark Fin Ban Act. Um, and then the other one is creating an actual market where people want to go out and eat these sharks, which right
yeah.
now is a very inexpensive source of protein.
Oh, definitely it is. Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I can't speak to that. That's above me. That's Congress. But have to do
Again,
something about the shark fin. But in terms of
that's why I preface it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not.
no, I understand. That's I'm not into legislative stuff. I can only provide the legislators the science, and then they have to make the decisions. But no, I agree. I almost kind of relate this to what happened with lionfish when we had the problem with the invasive lionfish when they first started marketing lionfish. I it was a lot of it was marketed as like a very expensive like Japanese fugu or something. And I think that kind of and there's still that public perception because I participate. A good friend actually, a good friend. Her husband, she's a colleague of mine. Her husband owns a dive shop, and he organizes lionfish roundups
Okay.
that I would participate in. So a lot of it is actually given to some of the local markets. But I love making lionfish ceviche, so I'll make 2 or 3 different types of lionfish ceviche. And I'll post on Instagram and I just made this beautiful batch of lionfish ceviche, and I'll get comments going, "How can you eat that? Isn't the flesh poisonous?" So there's a little misunderstanding about that because I'm like, no, it's great to eat. So I think same sort of thing with shark is, yeah, some shark, maybe not so much because they're the urea concentration, but black tip is very good to eat. Mako, you probably remember back in the day, several restaurants
They
in
were
the Northeast
delicious.
got busted because they were serving Mako shark as swordfish.
Swordfish.
Yeah. So many of our shark products are good to eat. So I think, some better education that, it's not like chewing on a leather boot, so to
No,
speak.
it's very
And,
good
and then like
eating.
we were just talking about some of the markets, like, making shark sausage or, even just promoting. Every once in a while, I'll see it in Publix, shark steak. And I'm in Florida caught, and I'm assuming mostly probably black tip. But like I properly prepared, it's good to eat. So, and I think that would help some of our fishermen harvest sharks if the perception was is that it's not causing their extinction. Number one, because this is coming from a sustainable fishery, we're not doing anything detrimental to the population, and second, that it's good.
It's inexpensive in
And it's
today's world.
inexpensive. Yeah. I mean, that was probably the least expensive fish. I think it was even cheaper than farm raised salmon, which I won't even go near farm raised salmon because, and that's another thing is, a lot of the misconception of that was shark meat was full of, mercury and pesticides and things like that.
I want you
But
to focus. Can you focus on that just a little bit more?
yeah,
Because every time shark gets put on somewhere, the environmentalists go at you saying, "Oh, it's full of mercury, you can't eat it." And it's like, no, man, it's no different than swordfish or tuna.
exactly. It's on the same level. Well, I was just going to argue that it's probably on the same level, and I don't know what kind of testing they do. But farm raised salmon is not exactly the most health. I mean, salmon is very healthy, but the farm raised stuff. I mean, I remember we import a lot of it from Chile, and I was backpacking in Patagonia, and I remember going down on one of these small plains into Patagonia, and the beautiful dark blue Pacific Ocean water, and we turn up into the fjords where the salmon farms are, and the water comes brown.
Oh, it comes
So
brown with just the farming in there.
yeah, with the farming, with all the waste products and everything. So yeah, I mean, I'm not discouraging people from, but I'm just saying on the same level, comparing sort of apples to apples, I would say that some of the farm raised salmon that's probably not, it would be just on the same health level as shark. but I'm not an expert on that. So
Yeah, no, no.
that's my
I
personal opinion.
I know I while I was on, or since I've been on HMS, um HMS did one time try to put shark recipes on their website.
They
And
did. No, there are shark recipes on their website. And in fact, that's one thing that Guy and I are going to work on is we want to, we want to try to get maybe some interest in chefs to develop
so
recipes. So we're hoping some of our 5-star chefs that we have throughout the U.S. may jump on and say, "Yeah, I have a great recipe for shark that I'd like to promote." And we actually were thinking because NOAA has their annual seafood festival. We were thinking of maybe trying to invite some of these world-class chefs to the seafood festival to cook shark and have people taste it.
so here's my little bit of pushback on that. I agree with everything you say, but do you know Marcus, Dr. Marcus from Mississippi
Marcus
State?
Fryman, yes,
Yeah.
he's a good friend.
So I had him on the podcast a few months ago, and we were talking
Mhm.
about this thing of these shark recipes on the website. And when HMS put it on the website, they had to pull those recipes down within 7 days. And his pushback to me was it was less than three. That
Listen, re,
less than
rest.
3 days they were forced to take the recipes off the
Hmm,
website,
I didn't know that.
and that came straight from Capitol Hill.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So my question to you is, are they on the site now?
I don't
Or
know. We had talked about, and this was a conversation I was having with Guy recently about maybe trying to put, if they're not on, maybe I'll try to put them back on the website. So
so this is what I
I'm not.
will.
I mean, if that's a decision that was way above my pay grade, so I'm not aware of that.
Okay, again, and I'm not. I don't want to put you on
No, no. Like I
on
said,
blast.
that would be news to me because I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that.
What
So
what what I will offer you is I have a very large fishing platform. Uh, I would love to host them on my site.
okay.
I would love to host them on my site and give you guys all the credit if you're allowed to get the credit for it. Uh, but I would love to host. I'd even love to get the chefs on here. That's why I asked you for the guy's contact for the sausage. I
Yeah.
would love for him to talk about it because there's a lot of misinformation out there
Yeah.
about
I
these
mean,
sharks.
if people choose not to eat shark, that's their personal choice. I mean, some people don't eat bluefin tuna because of they're concerned about the status. And
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine. That's their opinion. But the point is that shark is actually pretty good to eat, and there shouldn't be any reason why we shouldn't encourage some of our top chefs to. I mean, they can do some wonderful things with food.
I think.
I'm a foodie, and like I like to experiment with different recipes and stuff. And I've been to Oman where I've eaten some very
Oh,
interesting stuff in Oman. So
where in
maybe
Oman? Where in Oman did you fish?
I no, I was
Or
taking part of in a research project there.
where?
There's a group of islands. It's a marine protected area called the Danmian Islands off of the southeast coast of Oman. Yeah,
Okay.
so down towards the bottom. It's not. It's in the Indian. It's in the Arabian Sea. It's not up towards the
The
Strait of
Gulf of.
Hormuz.
Yeah, yeah,
It's further south. So we were there for a meeting, and one of my colleagues had a friend that we used to work with on sea turtles. So it's a big sea turtle nesting area. So we got invited to participate with the sea turtles. So we lived on a sailboat in the Damian Islands for a week, and we helped do the sea turtle nesting, and the coral reefs there were beautiful. These big flat top corals. I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful place.
it's gorgeous over there. I
Yeah.
I helped the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia put on their first ever international fishing tournament in the
Oh
Red
wow,
Sea. And
wow,
so I fished Oman, Fujairah. I actually have a photo where I was fishing the Straits of Hormuz. And
interesting.
and I was being circled by Iranian gunship.
Oh, geez, that's got to be a
Yeah.
little. That has to be a little unnerving.
I was on a boat with all my Saudi friends. So,
Okay.
yeah, I wasn't worried about it until I started thinking, why am I taking pictures of this gunship? Nah, it's best if I don't. But
Yeah.
actually, I have somebody coming on the podcast. He's right now is he in Muscat or Salalah? But I'm bringing him on because he had his boat stuck in Dubai and it was getting some work done and he couldn't get it out. So he just went through the Straits 6 weeks ago. And I'm getting
Hmm.
him on the podcast here in a couple of days to talk about how he got through the Straits at night.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about how, and I've known him and his brother for years. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, I'm very familiar with the area
Yeah, no,
of
that's a
Oman.
beautiful. It was one of those. I was in. It was a meeting in Qatar, and my colleague and I wanted to do some exploring because I had never really been to that part of the world. And someone suggested, "Why don't you go to Oman?" And it's gorgeous. I mean, the interior of the country is these beautiful, vast canyons. A guide took us there. We spent 3 days in the canyons. It's a beautiful place. So definitely.
If you ever want to explore the Red Sea, please let me know.
Okay.
We're working on building the first ever fishing club in the history of the kingdom.
In
And
Egypt?
in Saudi.
Oh, in Saudi. Wow, very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, out of Jeddah.
Okay.
So we've been working on it since just right after COVID.
Yeah, no, I've
Uh,
been wanting to scuba dive. That's been on my bucket list to scuba dive in the Red Sea for a while. So,
you know a guy.
okay, good
You,
deal. I might
you
take you up on that.
you now know a guy.
Good, good.
We can get
Yeah,
you
but
over
again,
there.
getting back to the whole shark meat again,
Yeah, yeah.
some people don't eat meat. Some people are vegetarians. That's their personal choice. But I think the point that we're both trying to make is that it's not something that is horrible to eat and unhealthy. It's not any more unhealthy than would be eating a steak of swordfish.
There you go. And that's my biggest push on all of this is uh I know there's one of the NGOs that somebody sent me, they started a social media campaign to of all things cyber bully kids that eat shark meat.
Well,
And and it's like, why are we bullying people? It's perfectly good. You can eat it, it's safe.
yeah. I mean,
Uh
their campaigns is the same sort of thing. There are probably some groups that, organize people to avoid, if they eat meat, they probably bully them that way too. So it doesn't seem to have any limits on what people try to force their opinion on others. So that's all I can say. And that's, again, my personal opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just, and that's one of the things that I push really hard on, um, just to get informed.
Yeah,
Listen,
and that's the thing. That's what we're just trying to do. Trying to better inform the public on, the benefits, or not benefits, but on, that shark meat is potentially a good source of protein, as you indicated, but it's also very good to eat
yeah,
if done if done properly. I mean, I had some shark meat before that. If it's cooked too long, that's the problem. Is people that grill it or whatever, they cook it too long. And well, it's like any fish. You cook it too long, it just becomes like eating the sole of
dry.
your shoe. Yeah.
Well, it's no different than if you cook a steak too long or venison
Exactly.
too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's
anything
like
if you don't cook it
I
right.
saw an interview with the chef Anthony Bourdain on, because the movie came out, it was about, and Bourdain says, like, I don't trust anybody that eats their steak well done.
Fair enough.
I just thought it was pretty funny.
Which is so true. Listen, but then again, it's your own personal.
Yeah, it's your own personal opinion. If that's the way you want to eat it, then great, enjoy.
Yeah, I don't care what you do in your house. I
Yeah.
really don't. I
Yeah.
don't care what you do on your plate.
Mhm.
If you're a vegetarian, be a
I
vegetarian.
mean, a lot of my friends are vegetarians, and I cook vegetarian as well. So I mean, it's
I don't
just
know how to.
it,
I'm not
it
gonna
you,
lie.
oh, I was in a meeting in, not to digress. I was in a meeting in Mexico earlier this year, um, south of Cancun, and many of the scientists that were with were vegetarian and vegans, and we went to this vegan restaurant. I had vegan sushi. It was really, really good.
Really?
Yes, I mean, it was delicious. Never thought I would. I never. I was. Believe me, I'm because this is a person that eats sushi. One of my favorite things to do is when the blackfin tuna. show up here is we get a blackfin tuna immediately when you get it on deck, bleed it out, stick it on ice, and then I immediately break out the thing of soy sauce and I'm cutting the loins out, ready to eat
Right there.
right there on the boat.
That's awesome. Have you been to Japan yet?
Yeah, oh yes,
I
yes,
love Japan.
yeah. Japan is a wonderful country.
I this is gonna be the first year in 6 years I haven't gone.
I was there in 2020, just
Okay.
before 2019, the year before COVID.
I was there I was there 2020. I was gonna go to China Fish and then Osaka Fish.
Oh wow.
And right as I was getting ready to fly to Beijing, all the meetings I had got canceled. People are like, no, they won't let me out of my town. So I had to change my plans because of
Yeah,
COVID. So
yeah,
I didn't go, but I was in Osaka and then I was there right as they were lifting the ban. I got detained by immigration because
oh wow.
because I didn't have the right paperwork. They let me on the plane. They were very ambiguous on what paperwork you needed, and
Huh.
I was going to the Yokohama Boat Show,
Okay.
and I went to the gate agent. I showed him all my paperwork. I showed him all all my things that I have to fly back and
Yeah.
forth to Japan. So they let me on the plane, and when I got to immigration, they're like, "No, this doesn't work."
Hmm.
And they detained me. I called some of my Japanese friends, who in turn made a couple of phone calls, and thank God they allowed me in.
Yeah.
I did not want to go another 13-hour flight back home. Uh,
No, 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 definitely not.
Especially, I didn't want them to just put me on the plane. And after 13 hours, the first thing I want to do is take a shower.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I just want to take a shower.
I
But
know.
they let me in.
Just to wash off the air,
Oh my gosh.
the air skunk or whatever, airplane skunk.
Oh,
Yeah.
and listen, I just got back from Croatia this
Oh
weekend,
right.
and the first thing I wanted to do, I just wanted to go home and take a shower.
Yeah.
I just want I got held up at the rental car agency. That was never mind what that was all about, but they were holding me. I'm like, man, I just want to get out of here. You have my
Mhm.
driver's license. Let's go. I just want to go home
Yeah.
and take a shower.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, I one of the longest flights actually was to India. I had to fly up to the northwest corner of India, and that was like 30 something hours. And by the time I got there, I didn't know what time it was, and I'm just like, I just want to get to my hotel room and take a shower.
Yeah, it's that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's I'll deal with being on the plane. I'll take a Tylenol PM and I'll fall asleep,
Hmm.
But first thing I want to do is take a shower.
I know.
What were you doing in India? What were you studying there?
There was the Convention on Migratory Species. They had their conference of the parties, and I'm co-chair of the advisory panel for sharks for the memorandum of understanding for sharks. Why I was attending in that capacity.
Okay. And the only reason why I asked, I recently got reached out to by somebody that was I think it was at Sri Lanka. There was some kind of a shark
I,
expo.
no, I was earlier this year. There's it's a Sharks International conference that
That
happens
was
every
it.
3 or 4 years, and that was in Sri Lanka. That was another country I would recommend. That was a beautiful country. I loved it. It was great.
They
Um, it, it was just bad timing because the war started, and a lot of the planes coming from the U.S. would you change planes in either Dubai
or
or you
Doha.
change planes in Qatar, and all those flights obviously were canceled. So everybody was kind of scrambling to try to get a different way. And actually, I ended up Sri Lanka Airlines had a direct flight from London, so I flew to London, spent the day in London, and then one straight shot to Colombo in Sri Lanka. So
Oh, okay.
the meeting was very well attended. Actually, there was a small, which I want to talk a little about, is on all the various shark depredation devices, the deterrents that are currently being researched. So there was a small symposium that which I took part in, and that's and so there was a lot of good discussion on shark because it's not just an issue. Shark depredation is not just an issue in the U.S. It's global right now. There was a I work with two scientists from that are working in the Cook Islands. They have their artisanal fishermen have a big problem with sharks. Um, Also, even in some of our U.S. territories like Guam, there's depredation issues there. And getting back to the experiments that we're doing here in the Gulf, if they're successful, we're going to try to use these experiments as kind of a proof of concept and go to other areas such as Hawaii, where there's issues there. As I said, Guam. And I just had a conversation with a pollock fisherman in the Northeast. I didn't really think it was, but from what I understand, he's a commercial fisherman for pollock. Blue sharks are becoming a big problem in that fishery. And these are on pollock that are caught with electric reels. So we're hoping some of the experiments that we do here can be ported to different parts, the Caribbean, the Northeast, Hawaii, our U.S. territories in Puerto Rico, and also in the Pacific Islands, to see, because it may not be a one-size-fits-all type of answer, because sharks are different, because there's a different group of sharks, like it's blue sharks, it seems, in the Northeast. It's a silver tip reef shark, from what I understand, that's impacting the reef fisheries in Guam. So we're not going to consider this a one size that fits all. We want to try to test these experiments in various parts of the U.S. territories and the U.S. And we do have the support of NOAA leadership on that. They're very excited about potentially moving some of these experiments to other parts of the U.S. to find out, as I said, if the answer we find out here, it may not be the same answer in another part of the U.S. But getting back to what I was talking about, is there's a lot of depredation or deterrent items on the market today. Everything from rare metals to ones that give off an electrical signal. So what I've been doing is, part of the meeting that I was at in Sri Lanka, I started making connections with all these different scientists that are doing work in Australia, or we have the Maldives is another area where depredation is a problem. So I've already set up this spreadsheet, or this Google information hub, where I'm kind of collate all the information that we have on all these depredation devices. One, what species was it tested on? Was it tested on a catfish? A cat shark? Obviously cat sharks are not known for their depredation issues, but what species was it tested on? What was the deterrent effect? And then the bottom line, what's the cost? Because a lot of these can be very expensive, and probably most of our recreational anglers may not be able to afford, say it's a sinker with a rare metal that costs $200 per sinker. So I want to do an analysis working with all my colleagues that are also testing these deterrents to try to come up with a potential, not a solution, but say these potentially work better, and the cost is much more within probably more of the common angler's purse.
I like it. There's a group of guys coming in from Australia during the Lauderdale Boat Show. They reached out to me and they asked to meet with me. So I'm happy to meet with anybody that can help alleviate the situation for people.
Because in some cases a deterrent may be needed. So of all these deterrents that are out there right now, what species do they work on? Which species, potentially the effect was not that good. So I kind of want to look at this with a big meta-analysis, or a big qualitative meta-analysis. And NOAA has already provided funding for some of these projects. There's a group, Marcus Ryman's group. Also, there's a group, my colleague Matt Ajamian, who's a professor at Florida Atlantic University, has done some citizen science work and some depredation work. So we've been funding those. We kind of want to get a better feel for, when we provide funding, which ones will give us, I guess, lack of better words, the best bang for the buck.
I like the choice of words on that one too.
Not necessarily bang literally.
No, I know what. No. I'm just being a wise ass.
And in some cases, some of these deterrents, the shark will come in, it gets pulsed, and then it swims around, and then comes right back in again, and then goes for the free lunch. So it's almost like, okay, somebody puts a nice, beautiful piece of bluefin tuna sushi on a plate, but they're going to give you a little electrical shock. You might be deterred first, but like, all right, the heck with it. I'm going to eat this thing anyway. I'll take the shock.
It's like the shock the dog collars
The
where it
dog
has
collar,
the
right?
electric fence. After a while,
Yeah,
the dogs learn if you take a running start and jump, it goes by really quick.
it goes by really fast, and actually, it's funny you say that because some of the experiments that have been done, when the shark makes its second approach, it swims in faster.
Ah, okay. Interesting. See,
Yeah,
and it's funny you say that because one of the things that I've noticed over the last, whatever, 12 years is now the sharks don't go chasing after my fish. They wait up underneath the boat until you reel them up to them.
mm.
They've learned that.
Some of them figured it out. Yeah, some of them
Yeah,
definitely
well,
figured it
it's like,
out.
wait a
Yeah,
second, why am I going to go chase this little shady thing? They
yeah,
bring him right to me.
yeah, and that again, that gets back to what we're trying to get the answer on is if the sharks are not resident to these high depredation risk areas, what's the cue that says there's a free lunch here?
Yeah, no, I listen, and again, going back to our original conversation, I'm just happy that N NOAA and the administration finally decided to fund looking at this problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a priority of our no administrator, Dr. Neil Jacobs. I mean, this is one of his priorities.
Yeah,
So,
no, no, that's why I'm very
kind of,
happy that, listen, as many people that want to say it's a shark problem. First of all, when you say shark, there's like 100 different types.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We can't just throw this giant umbrella on this
No,
thing.
no, and that's kind of like we're focusing on, what species right now are considered the depredation priority species, and one of those is sandbars, based on the information we have. Actually, Marcus worked on a study where they had volunteer anglers when they had a species that was depredated, they would swab the bite, and then genetically they were able to determine what species it was. In many cases, it was sandbar shark
It
and bull
was the
shark.
sandbar shark.
Yeah, sandbars and bull sharks. Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
expanding that. They're expanding that research right now. So
Listen, I'm very happy with it. I'm, I, again, personal opinion, I don't think there's a silver bullet to this
no,
thing.
and that's a good point. It's there may not be a silver bullet, but if we can come up with potential solutions to improve again or not or reduce the risk of depredation for our recreational and commercial anglers, that would be a win.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. I just I did not like that we spent whatever it was, 10 years just ignoring the problem. That was my biggest. I hate
Yeah.
being ignored. Ask my girlfriend. I hate being ignored. I
Well,
hate being ignored.
yeah. Well, it's interesting because we did a report to Congress in 2023. I worked on it with Guy. And the first thing I started to do, and Marcus just published a paper on that, is the depredation issue is nothing new. One of the first things I found when I started digging into this, there was a picture of Ernest Hemingway when he was fishing in the Keys in the 1920s, holding up a marlin, and he called it being cored, like apple cord. He
Oh,
called it
okay.
being cored. So there's a picture of Ernest Hemingway holding up a marlin that had got eaten by a shark, back in the 1920s. So this is not a new issue. And then it gets back into the question that I was looking at is a lot of the depredation an artifact of the social media, or are we truly seeing increases in depredation? And that's, like I was telling you when we first started this, is quantitatively, or I'm working with colleagues, myself and colleagues are working at quantitatively analyzing the data that we have depredation rates on to see, is that trend actually going up? And if it is going up, what are the factors that are affecting that going up? Is it more sharks? Is it a shift in their distribution? Have they figured it out? That's kind of one of the questions we're getting at.
No, I think the fact that you guys are going out and doing it, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm tickled pink.
No,
Uh,
it's very exciting research. I actually wrote a paper, ironically. Basically it says, are we ready for the conservation success of sharks? And
oh,
it didn't just focus on depredation, it focused on a lot of human wildlife conflicts. And I was kind of using, the conflicts. If you're a rancher out west dealing with wolves are recovering. How are they dealing with that issue? So I approached it because there's several types of shark human conflicts. I mean, there's the depredation issue, but there was also the shark attacks. In Was it 3 years ago they had their first fatal attack on Cape Cod from a white shark since in the 1930s. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Um, so is it more white sharks, or is it the fact that there's more seals, which are bringing more white sharks closer to the beach? I mean, it's all a complicated issue. And then the other issue we have is human wildlife conflicts. In the Hawaiian Islands, the Hawaiian muck seal is a very endangered animal, and there were areas in the northern Hawaiian Islands that Galapagos sharks showed up every year when the monk seal pups were whelping and getting into the water. So there was this conflict going, is it all those Galapagos sharks that are doing it, or is it just a group of bad bears? And should we cull those bad bears to save monk seals?
Oh
So
boy.
there was a conflict between the NGOs going, the shark NGOs are like, no, you can't do that. But then the monk seal NGOs are like, we have to save the monk seal. So there's various types of human wildlife conflict related to sharks.
Yeah, no.
Depredation, one now being at the highlight.
No, it's listen, I've also, since I started the podcast, I've also brought in a lot of people from the West Coast of the United States.
Yeah,
I've talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
salmon. I've talked
Oh,
about
that's another one. We're restocking, endangered sockeye salmon, and the seals are sitting at the bottom of the dam,
uh,
enjoying themselves.
okay, you brought it up, so I'll talk about it. I guess it's a 40% of the hatchery is being eaten by seals.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but I know it's an issue out there.
It's a number that I was given, and now the state of Washington is looking to hire people to go out and I want to use this. Euthanize is definitely the word, but I think they're looking to euthanize about 2,500 seals or sea lions,
Oh
something.
wow,
Yeah, and it's
I did not know
become
that.
it has become such a huge issue,
I can
and
imagine so.
and just like the Shark Fin Elimination Act on the East Coast is, and I say East Coast, it's all the whole United States, but the problem that they're having now on the West Coast is the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 72. And they're
Mhm.
running into that because um, if you have a sea lion sitting on your boat, you can't even go up there and shush them off
No, I
because
know.
now
I know.
you're running into
Marine Mammal
the
Protection Act. Well, it
yeah.
was the same sort of thing when this white shark attack occurred on Cape Cod. They're blaming the gray seals, and there was even some groups calling for a gray seal call.
I
Yeah,
was at the HMS meeting when somebody proposed an open season on seals in
yeah,
the Northeast, and I'm like, oh my God, he put it on record.
yeah. So there's a lot of human wildlife conflicts related to
And
sharks.
and Mike, and again, it goes back to what I brought up earlier is how does and listen, I don't want to make it just NOAA. This is not just NOAA. Any federal agency, when you put something on a list, what is the exit strategy once it reaches a certain level?
And that's kind of that was the kind of the point of the paper is like we need to have some foresight once, and that's kind of the title of my paper. Are we ready for the conservation success of sharks? Because maybe we haven't thought about when shark populations are rebuilt or rebuilding, what's going to happen because it's a different baseline than it was 30 years ago.
Exactly. And that's where my question always comes in, being, okay, you put it on this pedestal to protect it. Great. But at the same time, you should, and we were talking about this at the last meeting. Hey, if you're going to put something on the pedestal, I'm not going to vote for it unless, or I'm not going to agree with it unless you already have an exit strategy
Yeah.
once we get up there. Let it be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. What is the plan? Because right now you keep putting things up there and you don't have an exit strategy.
Yeah.
And I just recently had a conversation, and um, it wasn't in the fisheries management conversation, but I was having a conversation with a young man who's 20 years old. He wants to do something as soon as he graduates college. He wanted to become a fisherman.
Mhm.
And I go, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? And he's like, no, but I'd like to do it for 5 or 10 years. I said, well, if you only want to do it for 5 or 10 years, you may want to come up with an exit strategy first
Yeah.
so you know what you want to do to get out.
Right. Right. True.
Before you go into it, what's your exit strategy to get out? Hey,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things, and here's the thing, it doesn't mean you got to stick to that strategy. It just means, okay, I have this strategy. These are the things I want to do.
Yeah.
And most business people go into it with that strategy. Listen, these are the things I want to do until somebody comes in and buys me out. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing that with these species? Because what ends up happening, you have these ugly fights,
Hmm.
and I information on both sides. Listen, I'm and I'm probably going to get attacked for saying this. There's so much information on the people that want sharks to be managed harsher. And some of the stuff that they're saying, i.e., this vigilantism, I don't agree with.
Hmm.
I don't agree with. So, what are the game plans? What are the statues? How are we going to create funding to do the stock assessments so that we can say, okay, we've reached 80% capacity, and now is the time we should start talking about how we're going to start properly managing them at 80% or 70%, whatever it
Yeah.
is. But have a strategy because right now it just seems like almost like a check valve. It only goes one direction. And a lot of fishermen are very upset about it, and rightfully so. But at the same time, and I'm not gonna, I, I don't want to use the name on here, but there was one proponent about sharks at the HMS meeting, and I've recently reached out for the contact information because I was starting to feel bad because they had some stance on a certain species of shark, but it got to the point nobody wants to listen anymore. No, we're tired of listening because it's only one way.
Hmm.
It's only one way, and uh, yeah, it's not right. It has to be a flow
There has
back
to be
and
a
forth.
balance. Yeah. There also has to be a balance.
Yeah, and that's where my argument has been, even now. If it if it becomes where, okay, uh, now these stocks have recovered and we could lift the quota, but if there's no market, nobody's going to go out and go fishing for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay, great. You gave us quota, but nobody wants to go fishing for them because
No, you yeah.
there's no
There's,
market for them.
there's
So
no more.
what are you going to do to help create the market? Whether it be eating the meat, creating a market for people that want to eat them, uh, repealing the shark fin ban. Listen,
Yeah.
again, I'm not Congress. Uh,
No, neither. That's like I said, that's out of my territory. I can only provide the best scientific advice to the legislators, to the managers that
yeah,
suggest
and
under XYZ, this is potentially what we can do.
and until I feel they're not doing their job, then I'll run for Congress. I, listen, I say that I've already been approached to run for Congress. I really don't want to,
Yeah.
but if we just get ignored sooner or later, but no, it's not my thing. This is my one
Yeah.
little issue. My biggest thing is I just want people to go out and go fishing. That's my biggest thing. It's not even
Yeah.
that I want uh, anything. I just want the sharks to be managed properly because I hate to see people that come here to Florida, they pay lots of money to go fishing, and after 2 or 3 years, they're like, "Why am I paying you to feed the sharks?"
Mm.
And then they don't come back, and then
Yeah.
suddenly, you know what? Now we lost somebody, and that's the issue that I have. I don't
Yeah, I
want
mean, like,
that.
as I talk, I mean, that's the problem with the depredation is we have a degraded economic, not even economics, but just people are like, why should I go out and go fishing if I'm not going to, whatever I catch is going to get eaten. It's kind of a, a degraded experience, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Exactly.
Everybody wants, even if you catch and release, if you're fishing for tarpon, or even I catch and release most of the fish. I'll keep one or two for the cooler. But most of the fish that I catch and release. even if you get it up to the side of the boat, you know, you have that feeling, you touch it, get a picture, you know, let it go. So, and if you're not having that experience, you know, it's kind of a degraded, you know, fishing experience because, you know, people get excited about that sort of stuff.
I,
So,
I like pictures.
yeah,
I like to show off what we
I do
catch. But
too. I mean, there's lots of selfies on my Instagram page of me holding up the fish before I let it go.
exactly. It's part of it. I want to share the
Yeah,
experience.
I know, you know.
You know, and
So,
people who want to come home with fish, like I was saying, I was in Alaska a few weeks ago. I came home. I had lingcod last night for dinner. That's uh,
oh, nice. Very
it was
well.
it
See,
was
it's funny, you know, just even having that because, you know, like I was telling you before, my buddy and I went fishing over the weekend, and you know, it was slow because it was so warm. But the best fish that we caught, he actually had a gaff top catfish that was probably it was a horse. Like that big.
wow.
Yeah, it ate his topwater lure. So we get on the side of the boat. I'm like, hold that bugger up. I took a picture of it and posted it.
Exactly. And people like
Yeah.
to see that. People
Yeah.
enjoy seeing that.
And then the coach he was getting, he's like, "I didn't know catfish got that big." I'm like, "It was a hoss."
That's so cool. And he came up on a top water to
Then
boot.
he grabbed the top water plug because we thought he had a big red drum on when he first hooked up on it. He's like, this might take a little while because we were fishing light tackle, 6-8 pound test, and then we got outside of the boat. He's like, "It's a catfish."
Okay, now I'm just gonna segue out really quick and then we can come
Sure.
right back. Because you're Panama City.
Yeah.
Months of March, April, May. Inshore fishing. What is the primary target?
Oh, red drum.
Red drum.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool,
Redfish.
cool.
Redfish. And trout. And trout because the trout are starting to move out of their holes and they're
Okay,
starting to move out on the flats. Yeah.
okay.
Spring is, yeah, or pompano on the beach.
Pumping on the beach.
Yeah, pompano, one of the best eating fish. That always ends up in the cooler. But
Okay.
they're fun. They're a great fish to catch.
I I've been asked to do something around that time,
Yeah.
and
Well, if you
and
get up, we'll go out to the beach here and fish for pompano in the springtime when the run starts.
okay. All
Okay.
right. I'll off camera I'll tell you about what I've been asked to do.
Okay.
Because there might be something of interest to you. Listen, the shark depredation might be of interest of people doing this kind of fishing. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'll let you know because I have a friend of mine. He has a business up there in the Panhandle,
Oh, okay.
in Perry.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah. No,
helping them. I'm
one of my good friends, she used to work here at the lab. She's now the lead scientist for the Apex Predators program in the Northeast. Michelle Pazzarotti, she grew up in Perry.
man, there's not much in Perry, man. You
No, it's a
blink and
small
it's
town.
gone.
It's a small town.
Yeah, my buddy, I'll give him a shout out. He bought an old fashioned burger joint called
In
Graves
Perry.
in Perry. It's called Graves Diner.
I'll have to ask Michelle about that. She probably knows definitely what
Yeah,
it is.
it's been there since like the 30s,
Oh wow. Yeah,
and
she'll definitely know it then.
yeah, there's nothing there. So, and he was one of the guys I was up in Alaska with. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, we were brainstorming some ideas. So yeah, I'll share them with you. I don't. We have a meeting later on tonight at 8 o'clock about it.
Okay.
So we're trying to put a couple things together. But yeah, just to revitalize Perry's a little bit of a dying town. It was an old
Paper
wood
mill.
pulp
Yeah, it
mill.
was a
Yeah.
paper mill plant. Yeah, the paper mills are all closed in Florida now. So, but it's a beautiful place because it's like, you know, it's that part of Florida they call it the undiscovered part of Florida, and I'm coming like, good, let's keep it undiscovered because it's beautiful. You know, I hate to see condos up on one end of the beach to the other in Perry. No, please keep it beautiful.
It actually where he has like 700 acres up there in Perry.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gorgeous. He also has like a 700-pound black bear on his property. This thing is If I saw the thing, I'd run up the fucking tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
This thing is massive.
Well, again, it actually goes back to the the Bears. I live there. I don't know how familiar you are with Panama City, but there's a Navy base, and I live probably 10 minutes on the other side of the Navy base, and they've developed some from the back part, and so black bears are starting to work their way down to the beach. We actually had one in our neighborhood, and people were freaking out. getting into the garbage cans.
Yeah. People don't understand. They don't realize how many black bears are in the state of Florida.
Yeah, yeah. There was a post actually too. One of the more expensive golf courses that we have here. It was a black bear walking across the golf course when people were trying to tee off.
Oh, I used to have a hunting lease on the west side of Lake Okeechobee years ago. Oh my gosh, this had to be almost 20 years ago. The
Yeah,
amount of black bears on that lease was ridiculous.
yeah,
There was
yeah.
bears. We had to bear proof everything.
Sure.
Yeah, they
Sure.
don't. You don't realize how strong they are. They're
Oh yeah,
curious.
yeah. A buddy of mine, and his had a trail cam on underneath his deer feeder, and this was a heavy metal deer feeder. I mean, I couldn't have pushed the thing over, but he had a video of a mama bear came up with two cubs, and the mama bear basically pushed the feeder over, and it collapsed it.
And then they get into it.
Oh, they were just gorging. You could hear it on the camera as they're sucking up the corn. But just as
Yeah.
this mother, the sow bear, just pushed it over, and I don't think with all my strength I could have pushed it over.
Yeah, those are, let's see, it's something like 600 pounds of corn if it's
Yeah.
full.
Oh yeah. These bears were loving life.
Yeah. And they push it over like it's nothing.
Like it was nice. You just and then it goes.
And the next thing you know, that all your corn's gone.
All the corn was going away, and the feeder was gone. I mean, they just went. They had at it.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you hang it from a tree or a post or
Oh no, they'll figure it out.
they'll climb up. And yeah, I've seen them climb up until it bends everything. You
Mhm.
add an extra 500 pounds of bear. Here comes a pole, just starts bending over, and then
Yep,
it's on
yep.
the ground. And yeah, welcome to Florida, man. People
Right,
don't think
exactly.
they think of Florida as only condos and beaches, but
Well, it's up here. I mean, that's the thing. It's up here. It's beautiful areas. I do a lot of hiking, and part of the trails here are beautiful.
yeah, it's where I live. I'm in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
Literally in probably 3 miles, it goes right to marsh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes right to marsh. You got uh, what's here is Loxahatchee Wildlife Preserve.
Hmm.
And south of us, we have Big Cypress. And
Okay. Well, part of the research that I work on is sawfish, smalltooth sawfish, which I told you earlier
oh yeah,
on
yeah,
the Endangered Species Act, and we do work in 10,000 Isles National Wildlife Refuge and in Everglades National Park. And sometimes, it's kind of one of these, we're in the middle of Everglades National Park. It's gorgeous, pristine area, and it's like within an hour you could be in downtown Miami. And it just sometimes it's hard to put those two things together.
it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's my if for people that aren't familiar, and I'm sure you are, if you take if you get off of the turnpike and get onto the Sawgrass Expressway,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's nothing as you're driving the Sawgrass Expressway. On the east side of you is malls and construction and
Hmm.
buildings, and to the west of you is swamp
Swamp and sawgrass. Yeah, just for miles. Yeah.
for miles.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
totally
interesting
amazing.
the dichotomy between, when you get to South Florida like that, there's some areas that are just so remote and pristine. And then, like I said, you can drive an hour and a half and you'd be in the middle of the city.
Yeah, it's great. And this is where I grew up. So it's what like 95 ended just up the road. There was a big
Mhm.
space in between PGA, Palm Beach Gardens, and Fort Pierce. There was no
Mhm.
I-95.
Yeah.
And that only opened up in 1991, which
Oh,
was,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that was the year I graduated. That was the big deal that we could, again, being stupid, 17 years old and stupid. As soon as they opened up the road, I was sober, I wasn't drunk, but I thought it was great that I'm on a highway that there's nobody on, and I'm literally driving from right lane to left lane, back and forth
Yeah.
because I could.
Because you could, of course.
Because I could. It was
You're
so
17.
stupid.
If you could do it, you can do it because you could.
Yeah, fucking idiot.
I either started the same thing when I was like 17. I remember my brother and I tried to drive my dad's pickup up a hill that steep. Guess what? We didn't make it. We had to call tow
Oh,
truck.
oh, you didn't flip it over, did you?
Almost. it rolled and it wedged like that. And
Aren't
that's why
you
we had to get
lucky?
a tow truck to pull it. Luckily, we could stop on a bank and it just kind of stuck like that. And so, yeah,
Yeah, that
what you
just
do when
is,
you're young and foolish.
yeah.
It didn't take alcohol. We were just being young and foolish.
Yeah, listen, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was times that I drank, but when I was fishing, when I was doing any of this outdoor at night, I was fishing. I like for me, going from Palm Beach or West Palm, where I grew up, and driving up to Jupiter was a big deal. And going up to fish the Jupiter Inlet was, it was exploring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And again, there was no I-95. You had to get off at PGA and take
yeah. Route
alternate
one the whole
A1A.
way. Yeah,
Yeah. Until you got to, and listen, I got pulled over a couple times, not by cops. I got pulled over by FWC. Back then, I don't think it was FWC. It was
yeah, but yeah,
Marine
Florida.
Patrol. It was
Yeah,
Florida
Florida.
Marine Patrol. I'll never forget, I was fishing on the old Indian Town Bridge when it was just two lanes. And
Yeah,
as I get ready to pull out, this car comes across the bridge. I'm like, is this guy drunk? Is he going to hit me? And he blocked me in and turned on his lights. And I had a buddy in the car, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm snook fishing. And he goes, did you catch any? And I'm like, yeah, I caught whatever. We caught a dozen of them maybe.
yeah,
And he goes, what'd you catch at the inlet? I said, nothing. Tide wasn't right. And it took me a while. It took me until he
mhm.
let me go to realize, hey, wait a second. How did he know I was at the inlet? That was like 3 hours earlier.
He's
I'm like,
watching
that,
you.
that motherfucker was following me.
Yeah, he's watching you. Yeah.
And he went through all my stuff and looked through all my buckets and
Mhm.
no illegal snook. I was, thank God I wasn't one of those kids. I
Yeah,
always, and especially now with the amount of fisheries stuff I do, I'm glad I didn't do anything like that.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
always very respectful of our rules and
yeah.
regulations, and
Me too. Yeah, I was always. Well, my dad was pretty. He was a big fisherman, and he always was making sure that he volunteered for all the different fishing groups and stuff when we grew up in Connecticut. So.
yeah, that's it's a good thing.
Mm.
It's something that I don't know. I preach to a lot of these young kids. I'm like, whether you agree with the law or not, it's the law, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And I just saw a video yesterday online where some people were in the wrong area doing something in the Florida Keys and whatever, they were off by a mile.
Hmm.
And it's just so crazy. I mean, I don't fish at home very often anymore. And because of that, I don't keep many of the fish.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not home enough to do it, so it's easier just to catch and release it than when I first started. When I first started fishing as a kid, you were allowed to keep four snook over 18 inches.
Hmm.
And now I don't even know what it is. I think it's a slot. You're only allowed one.
Is it? Yeah.
And
Yeah. Snook are just starting to show up here pretty regularly now.
are they? How cool is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. It's pretty neat. Yeah, I have a couple friends that I surf with, and he showed me a picture of actually the last time we went surfing when we had the tropical storm. He showed me, he's like, yeah, we just got a snook. I'm like, where'd you catch that? And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
It's only me and you on this phone call right now. I'm not
Yeah.
going to tell nobody. How cool is that, though? It's making it up that
Oh,
far,
yeah, yeah. They're definitely working their way further north.
especially considering we had a freeze last year, a good freeze,
Oh,
and
real good
then
freeze.
a really good freeze. I had a friend of mine. He came. Oh, same friend from Perry. He came down to go iguana hunting. There was no
Oh,
iguanas.
you get them out of when they're falling out of the trees.
Well, no. He came down after the fact, but
Oh,
to shoot him down with air rifles,
okay.
and he there were none because of the freeze. So many had
The freeze.
died.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I know the snook had a wicked kill probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think that was red tide though, more than a cold snap. I
No,
think.
no, no. This was a
Was it
cold
cold
snap
snap?
because it was the only reason I remember that we did have a red tide issue as well, and I think that
Mhm.
was not a full 15 years. Man, I could be off. It could be 20 years ago, but I was in
Okay.
Duck Key fishing a sailfish tournament where we lost all of our baits to freeze. It was
Oh
killing all
wow.
of our live baits in the canals because it gotten so cold.
Yeah. Well, the we We used to do a lot of work in Andros on the west side of Andros Island. There's a small bonefish camp there, very prestigious, but the owners were very, very generous of allowing us to use that for a base camp when we were doing sawfish research on the west side of Andros. That's another pristine area. Oh my God, it's so beautiful there. And there's nothing on the west side. There's just one small fishing camp, and then you have to go to the other side again. But when the cold freeze that happened, they sent us video of all these dead bonefish on the
Oh,
beach that had got cold stunted. So,
oh my gosh.
I mean, it's the only first place I went there. We were basically poling in the backs looking for sawfish, and off one of these flats. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Probably 50 yards wide. It's just solid bonefish swimming at us.
Wow.
I know.
Are you into bone fishing?
I am. Well, yeah,
When you
I've,
get a
I've gone.
chance.
I've gone. I fished for them in the Keys with a guide, and I fished for them in the Bahamas with a guide too. So.
If you ever get the opportunity, and the earthquake really messed a bunch of stuff up, but I had the opportunity in the late 90s. I lived in Venezuela, and we
Oh
used
wow!
we
In
used to
Los Roques, did you fish
oh
Los Roques?
yes, Los Roques, man.
We had a colleague there that was trying to get us down. This is back 10 years ago. That was trying to get us down there to do shark research with them, and it was going to be on Los Roques. And he sent pictures of us, and I'm like, we gotta go. We
You
gotta
have to
go.
go.
Yeah,
You have to go, man. It is so impressive. If you ever get the opportunity, and
yeah.
after I lived, like I said, I lived there in the late 90s, and then with what happened in January, there
Oh,
was
with
some,
the earthquake. Yeah.
well, January was
Oh, and then
removing Maduro,
the coup and
but
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but then the earthquake just kind of put a kibosh on everything.
Right. I'm sure of
Um,
that. Yeah.
but yeah, Los Roques, we would literally stop there every year on our way down for no reason other than we wanted to see Los Roques and go
Yeah.
fishing. And
It looks beautiful. It looks
oh,
gorgeous.
it was phenomenal. It's a beautiful place. So put it on your list if it's not on there
Yeah,
already.
it's already been on my list. Can't share. There's a world map on my wall of my office, and I have pins on places I've been with one color, and then pins with places I need to go in the other color. And those in Venezuela, Los Roques is on the map.
Okay, I like so. What is a destination on your bucket list?
Oh,
Uh,
there's lots. There's lots.
what's your top one of your top five?
Well, one place is that I really haven't explored much that I want to is Southeast Asia.
Ooh,
I mean, I've been to the Philippines. I've been to Fiji, but that's the most part. I want to go to Borneo, Sumatra, Vietnam. All that whole area. I have not traveled there very much. So I
you
want
and I need to talk because I just spoke with somebody yesterday about that. Before COVID, I literally was kind of like setting up base camp in Japan.
yeah.
I have good contacts pretty much from the Middle East all the way around the United States all the way to Japan.
Oh wow.
But my weakness is that Southeast Asia. And then the last 2 years, I've been named the global ambassador of sport fishing to the Maldives. And,
Wow.
and I literally I accepted it on the premise that okay, now you guys need to introduce me to people in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's
You know,
areas in Africa too that I've been. Actually, we did one thing that we were trying to do there in Mozambique. We're sawfish are one of these. These are definitely a critically endangered species throughout the. Not just even in the U.S. but globally. There's just small pockets and fragments of their populations that's left. We think West Africa they may be pretty much extirpated. Maybe in Guinea-Bissau there might still be some left, but there was some reports in the Zambezi River of sawfish populations still there. So we did a workshop with the fisheries department there, and a lot of the local fishermen there, that's their livelihood. They're putting food on the table, so we try to find an alternate livelihood for them. And one thing we thought about is, that's a great sport fishing area. So what if we
unbelievable.
were to train some of the guys and hang up your gill nets and take people out on sport fishing trips as a potential alternate livelihoods. So we were trying to investigate that, and some of the developing nations. I mean, I can't blame them because they're just trying to put food on their table, provide for their family like everybody else. So in some cases, you know, say protecting and saving sawfish would be potentially reducing the capacity of the number of nets that are in the water. So what do we do with the fishermen? We have to provide them some alternate livelihood. And I was thinking, recreational fishing, because you pick up, International Angler magazine, and there's always, people that are going to, French Guiana to fish for peacock bass, or
Yeah.
I even saw, I guess there's a big black marlin fishery in, was it Kenya
Kenya.
or Kenya? Okay.
Before
So I
COVID,
like, why can't we work with the governments towards providing, instead of using a net, you're going to provide revenue for your family by taking, guys out to go fishing. So,
Before COVID, I was supposed to go to Kenya and teach classes on how to rig baits with circle hooks. So
oh,
that,
really?
yeah, I was working with the Billfish Foundation and the African Billfish Foundation.
Okay.
And I was going to fund the whole thing. I just, I wanted some support from them because of
Yeah.
the conservation aspect, and then things started falling apart.
Well, that's what happened. I mean, when we had this workshop, it was 2018, and then COVID happened, and then
Yeah.
we
If you want to
have to
go,
do the big giant reset again. So you have to re-engage. A lot of the people that were there are no longer there. So yeah, that was a frustration.
it's been a huge reset. That's why I'm
Yeah.
only now restarting with Southeast Asia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but now, number one, there's more technology.
Mhm.
I have more access to this technology and to funding and resources, and I have even more connections now and bigger platform. So,
Yeah. It's
but
great.
if you decide you do want to do this in Mozambique to introduce sport fishing, let me know. I'm happy to
Yeah, I
help
mean
you.
that once it's just since it happened, the scientist I was working on, she moved back to Scotland. She was based in Africa, so a lot of it we're trying to do the reset, but we're hoping to try to get back into that again.
Well, with my platform and my connections, I can find the people that would be interested in coming in and hiring the
Okay,
boats.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I can that part I can definitely help you with.
Okay. I
So
mean,
if
even
it,
even if some of the the local fishermen, they don't necessarily, they can be a deckhand. They don't necessarily need to run their own charter. So
no,
if we had someone
exactly.
coming in and set something up, they could potentially hire a lot of these people to, like I said, put away your gill net and then work as a deckhand to provide for your family.
Yeah, anything I can do.
Okay, I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
that.
because that would be very, very, especially if it's working with the government.
Yeah.
Um, part of my company, what we do is we work with governments to help promote fishing as a part of tourism. So that's what I'm doing with Saudi Arabia and the Maldives and
Okay.
all these other, and that's what until the earthquake, that's what I was doing with Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah, and now that and that's just put a giant curveball in.
Yeah, that's another spot because, like, part of the work we're doing on sawfish is trying to find, we're calling lifeboat populations, just because the areas are so fragmented. We think there might still be sawfish in Venezuela, but we just haven't been able to get in there to see.
Once things get cleaned up again, let
Yeah.
me know because I was uh, once January 3rd happened, or I think it was January 3rd. Once that happened, literally my phone didn't stop ringing
Oh,
because
okay.
because I lived there in the
Yeah.
90s. All these I'm 53 years old. I was there in my early and mid 20s.
Hmm.
So all the guys that I grew up with, all the local Venezuelan guys that I grew up with are now 50-year-old business guys. And they see what I've been doing and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, will you help us?" I'm like, "Man,
Yeah.
count me in."
Right.
That was some of the most formidable times in my career that I had so much fun and made so many good friends, and the
Hmm.
fishing was astronomical. But
Hmm.
again, this has totally put a wrench in it. But like anything else, time and it'll come back. I'd like to ask some questions because you've mentioned the sawfish a couple times, and
Sure.
I've been lucky enough to see a few in the wild.
Hmm.
But can you tell? And this is 100% for my curiosity. Um, it's on an endangered list. What, in your opinion or your expert opinion and all that, what has been the biggest demise of the sawfish?
It's a combination of two things. That rostrum is their Achilles heel. It gets caught in all kinds of netting. Um, you know, prior to the Florida net ban, they were probably caught quite a bit in not targeted, but in as bycatch. And what's the easiest thing for a fisherman to do? They don't want to cut up their net because that costs them money. They just kill the sawfish or whack the rostrum off. They can't live without that rostrum because they use it for feeding. But it's not just nets; it's trawls. We even had an incident where a sawfish got caught on a dock line, got from wraparound dock. So that rostrum is their Achilles heel. So we had a lot of mortality associated with fishing mortality, indirectly, and then also directly. If you can look at some pictures, I have a collection of pictures taken in the 20s and 30s with they would actually go out and harpoon sawfish. Some of these animals were 16, 17 feet long.
Oh my
And
God.
there's a picture from the Florida Keys of an old boat, and right all along the edge of the gunnel are just sawfish just hanging there. So it was directed fishery for them as well. The rostrum is a curio. And be prior to the fin ban, well, it was illegal for a long time, but the sawfish fins are one of the highest prized for shark and soup because the density of the shark rays or the fin rays in sawfish fins are very valuable. So it puts them on a high price for that. In fact, when I worked on the CITES proposal for sawfish, because they were one of the species that definitely I felt would have benefited from a listing, because their trade was the rostrum, but also their fins. And we did some interviews actually with some fishermen in Kenya, and we were asking them, have you ever caught a sawfish before? And he said, no, but last time I caught a sawfish was when I was with my father 20 years ago. And he goes, but if I did catch a sawfish, I'd be rich enough that I could retire. So that's how valuable they were. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then not only that, but it's also the loss of habitat. As little sawfish, they're very tied into mangrove habitat as nursery habitat. So, and as you know, Florida has increased their development of many of the coastal areas. A lot of those mangrove habitats are lost, and some of the nursery habitats is lost as well. So it's a combination of two things: the loss of their nursery habitat, and then the bycatch bycatch and directed fisheries over decades, which has caused that demise.
Wow. I I was always curious. I assumed it was environment, loss of
Yeah,
environment,
yeah,
just because of the mangroves.
yep.
But I didn't think I was a senior in high school when they passed the the uh the gill net ban.
You got live in, yeah,
The in
yeah.
91 the amendment. So it was I remember it was either my first or my second year in college. I took a class on public speaking, and I actually talked about the that amendment.
Oh, nice,
Yeah, it
nice.
was a big deal to me.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't understand why, other
yeah.
than you know, I wanted more fish to go catch,
Right, right, right.
but yeah, I did. I remember doing a big public speech on that. Little did I know I'd be sitting on a podcast yapping.
Yeah, you took a course in public speaking, and now you're running one of the biggest podcasts for recreational anglers in
Yeah,
the Southeast.
I absolutely listen. My biggest thing that I started this for was I actually started this during COVID. I started in my driveway because I travel about 250 days a year on the road. After about 10 days in COVID, I was going crazy
I
because I
know.
wasn't talking to people. So I went out on my driveway with my two phones
Mhm.
and I just started talking to people online. Then I started asking people to join me. But back then in 2020, isn't what it was today.
No, no, it definitely. I don't. Maybe it was a COVID effect because it seemed like it went up there because
It went crazy, but trying to
yeah,
get people to come on my podcast was tough.
really.
Yeah, nobody wanted to give up 2 hours to come on a podcast.
Wow.
And then uh this past year I have a couple of products that I'm getting ready to launch, and I knew the podcast was going to be the best thing. Plus, I also knew that I like talking about controversial subjects such as the Shark Fin Ban Act
Mhm.
and other things as well. And I didn't want to bring on sponsors that could try to influence what I talk about. So I'm like, I'm going to create my podcast to
Yeah, you
promote
want to
my,
be independent. You want
yeah,
to be
I
independent.
wanted to promote my own products,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I want to be independent. I want to talk about controversy.
Hmm.
I don't think we touched anything really controversial today.
No, I think we covered. I wanted to let your audience know that NOAA is moving forward with trying to address this depredation issue. I want to
You,
make sure your audience knows that we're not just sitting on our hands. We are actively involved in this issue that we hopefully can provide. And there may not be, like we said, there may not be a silver bullet, but we may provide advice and decisions as we move forward. And like we talked about, I wanted to see an end goal to this and how we deal with it, or potential solutions for certain issues that we have.
and I wanted somebody to come and talk about it, and I have offered my platform. You're the first person from NOAA to accept.
Really?
I want you to know that, because, and again, I get it. Government, working with the government, there's a lot of CYA.
Yeah.
Cover your ass.
Yeah.
I don't know. You deal with HMS, so you probably are aware of it. Where
You're my friends and my colleagues. Yeah, they're my friends and colleagues. So
I'm sure you were aware of uh, the overage that we had on the bluefin tuna a couple of
yeah,
years back in
yeah,
2024. And I was speaking with Brad about it, and I'm like, listen, Brad, I had a lot of nowhere near the amount of calls you got,
hmm
that when in 2025 they closed off 50% of the quota. I said, but the amount of people that called me up and were bitching and complaining, and I explained to them why they cut the quota in half, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't realize that part of ICAT, you have to, if you go over on your quota, you have to give it back."
right. Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and once you explain that to the people, okay, we're good.
yeah. And that's kind of like you said. The depredation issue is, many people are very opinionated. Many people are upset right now, and I don't think we did anything controversial. This is more of a provide your
Yeah,
audience with we're doing something and working our way forward to trying to find answers to what everybody keeps saying or
is a
asking.
and that's why I was on the couple of things that we did talk about that I knew could be controversial. I wanted to be honest. This is my opinion.
Yeah,
Like, for me, again, whether you figure out it is a problem or not, my opinion, it's the beginning of a problem. That's
sure.
just my opinion. I don't think we're at the very height of complete problem yet. Complete problem is people can't even go swimming. That's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
and
Well,
again, that's my opinion. You can't go
yeah,
swimming.
yeah.
Uh,
But I always say, whenever we had actually had a shark attack in Panama City
a few
a few
months
months
ago,
ago. Yeah, it
yeah,
was
the
pretty
Navy
severe.
guy
It was totally surprising because I always say it's more dangerous for you to drive to the beach. You have a better chance of getting um,
hit by a car.
injured on the beach. And actually, I usually watch Weather Channel in the morning. It's kind of what I call movable wallpaper. I'll be getting ready, and they had a thing on lightning strikes, deaths from lightning strikes. And and I looked at the statistics. They had all the different. Florida has more deaths from lightning strikes this past year than they've had from shark attacks.
Yeah, I had oh my God, Eric Saunders. You know Eric Saunders?
I know, Eric. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yep.
had him on the podcast a few months ago.
Yeah, he's
Eh,
been so. He helped develop some of our ID guides. I mean, Eric is
He's
very knowledgeable.
amazing. He is
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. And I'm going to quote him. I'm going to quote him, but I'm going to fuck up the quote. Uh, they're not shark attacks, they're just shark bites.
yeah, yeah.
They bite you and they realize, oh no, this is not something I want to eat.
That's not a human. That's what I would say. We call it bite and run, and that
Yeah.
the shark makes a mistake.
Yeah, they made a mistake. And that's, for me, that's when I would think this thing has ballooned into too far of a problem. Right
Yeah.
now, it's just, hey, guys, let's do something. Let's look at it. And my argument, which again, you're probably going to be tired of it, is we're putting these things on a pedestal. How do you take them off if and when we reach that number, whatever the number is? That's not my job.
Mhm.
That's not my job. But listen, as anybody, hey, what is your exit strategy? Hey, listen, if you have kids, once they reach 18, what's your exit strategy?
Well, and
Or are you,
that's kind of what we're building on right. That's kind of exactly what we're building on right now. If this assessment indicates that the sandbar shark population has recovered and we can take them off the prohibited list. What is the next strategy that we can do? Because right now no one's fishing for sharks. How do we encourage the market so they are sustainably harvested? If people want to go out and catch sharks, that's great. If they don't, then that's fine too. So
Hey, has the government been talking about, and again, I'm generalizing it when I say the government. This could be NOAA, National Marine Fisheries, Congress. Does the government have any idea if we open up all the quotas to whatever it is, anything that's sustainable, and people still don't want to go out there and go shark fishing? Is this something that uh, the government as a whole, whatever agency, is this something that they're talking about or would potentially talk about in the future?
no, that conversation hasn't been made yet, not to my
Oh,
knowledge.
okay. No,
Not to
again,
my knowledge. Yeah, not to
and,
my knowledge. No,
and
but it's
again,
what we've been working towards. Again, determining what's going on with sandbars, and then if we can have a quota again for the first, what can we do to encourage markets?
okay.
Because right now there might be some public perception, and if you don't want to catch and eat a shark, or if you think they should be, on the same level as not being touched and only be appreciated, that's fine. That's your opinion. But if you're somebody that appreciates eating shark meat, then potentially you have the capability now to go out and harvest it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just
A lot of
curious.
people are just a lot of people are just catch and release fishermen only. That's if you don't want, but if I every once in a while I catch one, that's going in the cooler.
Yeah. No, no, listen, I get it. I just recently did an interview with the Associated Press. They called me up because of the change in the recreational retention limit. And they're like, "Do you think this is going to have effect on the stocks?" And I go, "You don't understand what it's like catching a 200-pound shark. The average person can't just put on a 200-pound shark on there. First of all, harvesting it, putting it on their boat, and then trying to take care of it, it doesn't just happen.
No, no, definitely
It
not.
doesn't just happen. Even
Yeah.
my argument when Noah they put out some videos about how to properly handle sharks or large animals at the side of the boat, and they sent me some videos to look at and asked me my opinion. And I go, listen, I love your videos. I think you did the quality of the videos are phenomenal, but you don't understand that the average person does not know how to handle a 200-pound animal next to their boat.
Yeah.
And one of the
Or
things
even a
that
smaller animal. There was it last summer that was a recreational angler. He actually posted the video on YouTube of him getting bit by a lemon shark because it was a little lemon shark, and he didn't realize he grabbed the shark, and lemon sharks have the ability to turn 180 degrees. So he grabbed it and turned right around and bit him in the hand.
and that's my argument where I tell at
He posted
Noah,
it. He was, it was like he was
I
posting
got
it on
bit. I
YouTube.
got bit. I tell them, I said, you know what, you're bet. I even tell a lot of people that go blue marlin fishing, I go, don't worry about the hook. Just cut it as close to the hook as
Close
possible.
as you can. Yep.
Yeah,
And that's the same thing we tell people with sawfish, because recreational anglers are catching sawfish off the beach. Some of our recreational anglers that are shark fishing specialists have caught sawfish off the beach, and we try to tell them this is not just for the sawfish. This is for you. Cut the hook as close as you can, keeping it, because I've had a close encounter with that rostrum, and they're swinging at it to take your head off, and I almost had my head taken off.
ooh, you don't realize it when that thing starts coming at you. The very
Yeah.
end is moving
Yeah, my,
fast.
my colleague at FSU, who does a lot of work on the adult sawfish, he had holes in the side of his boat right through the fiberglass where the rostrum had punched through, because it would slash, because he was trying to bring it up the side of the boat to secure it before he, worked it up, and measurements and tagging and stuff like that, right through the fiberglass.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the rostrum was fine, just punched holes in it. So
Well,
imagine that hit flash human flesh.
I
So that's
don't
why we
want,
tell people same sort of safety guidelines. It's not just for the sawfish; it's for you too.
yeah. Just listen, these animals are used to getting poked and prodded by
Yeah,
whatever they're eating. Don't worry about the hook. The hook will fall out. It,
Yeah.
just like you get a splinter in your finger, give it time and it falls. And a lot of times, as soon as you cut the line, and you know, it doesn't take but a couple of
Yeah, I mean, then
days.
that's why because the extra mono is going to cause the damage because that's going to wrap around their bodies, and that's what's
Yeah.
going to cause. That's why we try to cut it as close to the hook as possible.
Oh my, I don't even think I want to get close to a sawfish. I really don't. I just the thought, it's like dealing with a swordfish.
Yeah, they're cool beasts. I love them to death.
No, I could only imagine. You know what? At a future date, I'd like to have you on and talk about the sawfish. I really
I'd
would,
love
because
to. I'd love to definitely
they're
talk about that.
they're a neat animal. They're kind of prehistoric looking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a neat animal. And here in the state of Florida, you're supposed to call up and every time you
Yes, we
see
have
one.
a hotline. Yeah, that's another citizen science project that we have, and we get a lot of actually some of our real initial good data that we got because one thing about studying sawfish, I know we're reaching the end of our podcast, but we really didn't know hardly anything about them, and a lot of the great initial information we got was from guide fishermen in the Everglades and the Florida Keys. That was a lot
Wow.
of that was some of the citizens. My colleagues, Tanya Wiley and Colin Simpfendorfer, who used to be at Mo, did a big citizen science project, and we got a lot of our good information on sawfish habitat use from the fishing guides.
If people want to get a hold of you some way, somehow, or any information that they want to share with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, actually, let me give you the. I don't know if it's best just to talk it out to you, or
You,
I can send you an email.
you can talk it out to me and then you can
Okay.
send me an
So
email.
yeah, so people want more information about our depredation project, and again, if they're interested in working on this project, and again, as we talked about, this is people are very upset about this, but we're asking for people to put aside any emotion and try to help us collect the best scientific data we can to help determine these type of questions we have relative to what is the cue that these animals are using to come into this site. Is it the boat engine? Is it the first wriggling red snapper? So the email address is nmfs dot SEFSC, that would be for the Southeast Fisheries Science Center, dot shark depredation, all one word, at NOAA.gov. And I'll email this to you, Fly, and then you can put it on,
I can
as
put it
well.
on I can put it on
Yeah.
everything so
But yeah, so
people
we're
know
going to
about it.
start gathering if they're interested in participating. The main projects are going to occur south of Alabama, Florida line, that particular area where it's a high depredation risk. And then there's another area along the shelf northwest of the Keys that we're going to put these arrays out. So anybody that is an active fisherman in those areas, if they're a charter fisherman, if they're a general recreational fisherman and they want to participate, that's great. All the information they collect from us will be confidential. We're not going to give away anybody's secret fishing spot. I want to make sure of that. But we are interested in trying to gather information about, their fishing activities when they're in those areas, so we can use that data to correlate that potentially with what the sharks are doing.
Beautiful. John, thank you.
Thank you. I
I
really appreciate the opportunity
no,
to come and
no.
talk about this. I hope I've given your audience some not relief, but just some idea of what we are doing as we're moving forward. This is not something we're turning our heads to. This is something NOAA is actively engaged in right now.
Yeah, no, and that's why I wanted you on here, and just to let people know. Listen, I was excited when uh when John jumped on there and started talking that you were creating this. And
Yeah.
actually it was Guy and one other person that made the presentation. They pulled me aside and they're like, "Hey man, there's a lot more stuff coming down the pipeline. Just
Yeah.
hold your
And yeah,
horses."
this is the thing. We're just starting this process, and we're hoping it's going to be a long-term project. And as I said, we have the support of NOAA leadership, and NOAA leadership. You get the support behind NOAA leadership, you can make things happen.
No, that's perfect. John, if you can hold on right there, don't hang up. I just want to tell everybody, thank you so much,
No, you're very
guys.
welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Give John any kind of support he needs. If you're listening to this, they're finally doing something. So I'm very, very happy. And thank you everybody who's listening. And as always, check you guys later.